Every professional writer in the world should be paying attention to the advances being made in content, AI, and artificial intelligence copy systems. I can say with confidence that these systems are getting better, they're getting sharper, they're getting more capable of replacing a lot of the skills that copywriters have relied on, especially in the freelance market. I spent the better part of the last 10 months helping with a large, well-known copy AI system, helping to train the algorithm. What I did was unpack the output, right? So I analyzed over 100,000 articles probably in total and gave feedback to the development team on what the algorithm was getting right, what it was getting wrong, ways that it was guessing incorrectly, and how we could improve it in order to set the rules that would help it to continuously learn so that it could mimic human language with as much precision and authenticity as possible. Based on that exercise, I learned a lot about how these systems are working, what they get right, what they get wrong, what they get right now, and what they're going to get right soon. And I think that this is really valuable information for anybody who makes their living writing to know about. I'm Joy Yule from Hire a Writer. I'm a content consultant, I'm a copywriter, and I am a content strategist. This means that I see the value, and I think that a lot of businesses are going to see the value in some of these AI-based content development systems. The question is, how soon are they going to replace certain kinds of copywriting? What kind of copywriting are they going to replace? And how can copywriters work to insulate themselves against the volatility of this dynamic shift? It's important, right? It's a good thing. And what I think that what content AI systems can and are doing is actually helpful to most copywriters, especially those of us who want to go deep. So let's kind of talk through what I think are the basic components of these systems, what I think they're doing well, and the things that I think copywriters need to work on in order to remain relevant and hireable against content AI systems. Okay, so as I was working through, you see that? As I was working through kind of training the algorithms and, kind of figuring out what the patterns that we were seeing were, I found that there are a few misconceptions. So I would be pretty confident that most of us have heard the things I'm about to say and have even thought them ourselves about what content AI is or isn't capable of. One of the things that I cover in the blog of this content is that if you think that this is irrelevant for you, you're not looking close enough, right? Even really, really good copywriters need to pay attention to what these systems are becoming capable of, because you may be very surprised at the kinds of skills that you've worked on and cashed in on that are pretty replaceable now. Not to scare you, but pay attention. So there is a misconception, first of all, for the technical, okay? So there's this idea that if I'm just a really, really good technical writer, that content AI is never going to be able to be complex enough, right? Or at least not yet. I can say with confidence that actually the reverse is true. I think that some of these content AI systems are actually best at doing very, very technical content. Think about it. You can't compete against an algorithm that's capable of crawling like the entire internet, right? Every vocabulary bank, every logical thought. So technical content and going deeper into a technical field is not necessarily going to save you. However, with one caveat, right? So I think technical, these systems do it well, okay? They really cover it well. They're precise. What I will say is the one thing they can't do is emerging technology. So because, and actually this is the second point that we'll make here in a second, because they're derivative, right? So all they can do is pull and then aggregate existing content, usually from the internet, which means if you're in an emerging market, some kind of really cutting edge IoT thing, metaverse architecture, something that really doesn't have a lot of content on the internet, that may be a huge weakness, right? And it may be an opportunity, and it may be a place where copywriters will always be needed, is kind of that there isn't enough for any kind of automated system to draw from a linguistic perspective to be able to put together cognizant, cogent thoughts. So copywriters may still be really important for that. So that's good news for a lot of you. Okay. The second thing is collecting. So amateur copywriters, this is pretty much all they do, right? They collect existing ideas. They collect information from various sources and they rearrange it, okay? I call it rearranging, I think, on the blog. AI does that better. It's going to do it better than you. It can get more sources. It can rearrange them in more creative ways, and you're not going to really touch it. And then the last place that I think a lot of copywriters think that AI is going to fall short is in the creative use of vocabulary, right? We all understand pragmatically that obviously AI can have a more expansive vocabulary, a more comprehensive, but we think we can use it more creatively. That's not true. I will say, the algorithm I trained, it was deep. Like it used words really, really well. And that's because of the nature of how an algorithm functions, it's only going to get better at doing that. So I just think it's important as we consider kind of the capabilities of some of these systems to not think that technical expertise is going to save you, to not think that your ability to rearrange ideas in a creative way is going to save you, and to not think that your creative or comprehensive use of vocabulary is valuable at all, because it really isn't. But there are obviously shortcomings. But I would say that the final kind of area that AI is unexpectedly competent for content development is tone. None of us thought this was going to happen this fast. The one thing that we have against AI is that we're human, right? So the idea that we could be more human makes good sense. The content AI system's ability to pick up on and replicate tone, very specific brand voices, is not bad, and it's going to get better. So I think that's an important thing to not kind of have all of your eggs in the tone basket as a copywriter, because I really don't think that's going to be a huge differentiator, especially when you're going head to head with a content AI system. I think that any system that a company trains well to adapt to its tone and use of language is done. I mean, natural language processing, latent semantic indexing, some of these technologies are already inherent in kind of how content is organized on the internet, and they're going to be the things that make tone possible for a non-human, for an artificial intelligence system. Okay, those are the things that it can do, and it can do a lot more. The question is, what do you do, right? The question is, what do we do as professional writers, as people who have made our living putting pen to paper, not literally now, but typing away at our keyboards and trying to have creative thoughts and creative use of language and all these things. If that isn't necessarily going to be the out and out differentiator, now we've got this kind of artificial entity and systems in the marketplace that are competing against us for the same jobs. What's a writer to do? Okay, I have 3 ideas. So I spent a lot of time thinking about this over the course of the 10 months that I was working with the algorithm, and that was, what are copywriters going to do to distinguish themselves? And the first is, I think, sharpen your storytelling skills. The robotic, inhuman, inauthentic nature of AI is most obvious when it's trying to tell a story, because stories are warm and stories have characters, and there's a level of like social emotional complexity to storytelling that's very difficult for AI to replicate. And I don't mean to, as we kind of go through this, like, anthropomorphize AI as though it is, and I think I just used the word entity incorrectly, sorry about that. It's not an entity. It's a system, right? And a system that has to follow rules. So yes, it's going to get better, and those rules are going to get more comprehensive and precise in order to mimic human language. But the power of storytelling is unique to us, I think, still. And it may not always be, but for now, I do think that's an area that copywriters could focus and get better at, and be able to add value in that way. Okay. A second area that I think that copywriters have the opportunity to outpace or to kind of stay a step ahead of AI content systems is to be unexpected. So this was one thing that that the algorithm could never do, right? It's almost always derivative. It has to be, right? It's taking a bank of existing content and then it's rejumbling it, right, in really sophisticated, amazing ways. But it's not going to deviate from the norms of human speech, but we can. So there's an opportunity here to be unexpected, to do something unexpected with language. I think this is a really good opportunity for a lot of writers to kind of stretch their skills beyond the formula. So yeah, AI is going to conquer the formula. You can never conquer. But what it can't do is that human nature of predictably unpredictable, right? People are by nature unpredictable. So if you as a writer can become better at building some of that unpredictability into your marketing copy, into the emails, into the website, into the blogs and things like that, I think that that's going to have value. I think it's going to be interesting, and I think that it's going to become a reason that people would hire a copywriter over just paying far less for a content AI system to do it. And then the third is kind of just in general, I think, a best practice as a creative professional. Oops, I didn't switch that over. And I think it's think deeper. So how deep can you go with ideas? We live top level for the most part as marketing writers. Most people live at top of funnel with some mid-funnel lead magnets, right? I think there's a really good invitation as this technology develops for writers to begin to think deeper about the disciplines, about the connections. Most of kind of AI related content development is based on neural networking. And one thing that I emphasize in the blog that I think is really important for us all to remember is that, yes, AI is great, but artificial intelligence is based on human intelligence. It's referential, and the reference is us. It's trying to mimic us. So the more you develop your ability to think deeply and then communicate those deep thoughts, that becomes what is kind of untouchable, right? It's the depth of human knowing and human knowledge and metacognition, thinking about thinking, right? Going deep into ontology, thinking as, a form of, as a real line of study, like thought itself. So I get that that's, one of the things that I think is really positive about this development of content AI systems is that it's going to weed people out. It's going to weed people out who don't want to go deep. It's going to weed writers out. It's going to take all the writers out of the running who have a very shallow understanding of human nature, who have a very shallow grasp on kind of the actual craft of writing, even from a grammar perspective and from a vocabulary perspective and all that. It's going to weed people out who aren't willing to research a lot, right? Who aren't willing to really dig in and find new ideas and get into the nitty gritty and dive deep. I think I said that like 4 times now. Which I think means that I really think it's a big deal. So I think that there's a general kind of unease in our industry right now in the world of copywriting about what content AI means, what it's going to cost us, what it's going to cause to happen in the marketplace and among talented professionals. And I think I would just say, as somebody who has a lot of exposure now to it, who's been kind of on the background of a prominent one of these software systems, yes, it's good. And what it will replace is shallow thought and amateurish skill. But it's not going to replace the professionals. And if you dive deep and go there, 5 times I've said that now, we'll go back and count. If you really start to go there to, get into the craft and really push yourself to become a better researcher, a better communicator, a better handler of the language, better tuned into human nature and the dynamics and the complexities of these exchanges we have, over the internet through words, then you will be not only safe, but you will have some cushion, because the companies that are going to be willing to invest are those who recognize the value of that and who are willing to think through the real ultimate outcome of great marketing copy, which is creating human connection, creating relationships with potential buyers and all of that. So I wish you all the best. If you've tried a content AI system, I would be very interested to hear how it went. There's all kinds of fun stories about some of the mistakes they make, but also some of the incredible content that's being produced by some of these systems. So drop it in the comments. Feel free. Subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you around for these videos and hope that they provide value to you in your journey to becoming a better writer.